So over the past year or so, man, all we've been hearing about, or all I've been hearing about, is these lasers. These lasers that the Navy has and are putting on these ships. That's all we've been hearing about, right? I am so hyped. They done got me so hyped about them. I can't wait to be able to see them popping up, the videos popping up on my suggested feed on YouTube so I can binge watch them. Oh man, I probably won't leave the house for days. I probably won't. You know what I mean? I'm so hyped to see these videos, but we're going to check this one out, man. This one is the U.S. is testing its incredibly powerful laser warships worth over 500 million US dollars. We're going to get to it. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button, man, and spam that like button. Let's check these out.
The world of war technology is changing. While the U.S. Navy is currently equipping its ships with futuristic high-tech lasers, South Korea is tinkering.
See, that's all they're saying is equipping. Equipping. No, man. We want to see them, bro.
With a destruction machine armed to the teeth. But what makes these terrifying weapon systems so powerful? How will warfare change and evolve in the future? Stay tuned and join us to find out. The new laser weapon. Last summer, naval warfare technology reached an unprecedented level. Defense contractor Lockheed Martin announced that Helios had been delivered to the U.S. Navy. This is a tactical laser weapon designed specifically for ships. Specifically, the 60-kilowatt laser weapon embodies the first to be fully integrated into the systems of a United States warship. 2 years earlier, the USS Ponce had already been equipped with a laser, but it was only used for test purposes and did not come close to Helios' performance. The same applies to the component that was installed on the Odin in 2021. This is just as weaker than Helios and, moreover, only serves to confuse enemy drones. Just like the Odin, the USS Preble is an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Commissioned in 2002, the Preble brings it to a beam of 20 and a length of over 155 meters. In addition, the floating fortress is described by the Navy as the, quote, deadliest warship in the fleet. Helios was installed again as part of a year-and-a-half upgrade phase. But what makes this groundbreaking laser technology so special? What purpose does it serve, and what fields of application can it be used? Well, in general terms, we are dealing with an energy weapon or radiation weapon. Basically, the energy transfer of this new generation of weapon takes place through electromagnetic radiation, mostly through high-energy lasers, or so-called masers.
Now, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm excited about it just as much as the next person. That don't mean it don't make me nervous. It makes me extremely nervous to know we have the capabilities and the powers to have something so powerful, bro. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Somebody got to have some type of footage, some type of test footage or something showing it just hitting something and it exploding. Like, I need to see it.
These are lasers in the microwave range. Although laser weapon technology appears to be fairly new, its roots go back to the early 1980s. A major driver for this field of research was the so-called Strategic Defense Initiative, which was launched by U.S. President Ronald Reagan during an extremely tense phase of the Cold War. Originally conceived to establish an effective defense shield against intercontinental ballistic missiles, the initiative was reduced to ground-based defenses under Bill Clinton and continues to this day. In addition to destroying and damaging military targets, laser weapons can also be used in non-lethal applications. For example, to restore mined land to use, or to bring space debris back into the atmosphere for re-entry, thus reducing the potential threat to space travel. Helios.
All right, I'm a little confused on that part of the whole space debris part. Did somebody break that down for me? I'm gonna back it up and hear it again, but that kind of confused me a little bit.
In non-lethal applications. For example, to restore mined land to use, or to bring space debris back into the atmosphere for re-entry, thus reducing the potential threat to space travel. Helios. In the case of Helios
why would we bring space debris back into the atmosphere? And then that even seems confusing. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, y'all gonna have to break down, make me understand that. Like I told y'all, man, that part got me right there.
USS Preble. The laser technology is explicitly not intended as an offensive weapon. Mounted just below the bridge, Helios has the primary mission of fending off kamikaze drones and boats. But why doesn't the US Navy rely on classic defensive missiles in this regard? Well, this is because laser weapons are vastly superior to their conservative predecessors in a number of respects. First, there is the cost factor. Although the installation of a Helios system costs more than $60 million, a shot is significantly cheaper than a salvo with a phalanx anti-aircraft gun, a surface-to-air missile, or shells from the guns. Added to this is the fact that the ammunition is virtually unlimited, assuming sufficient.
That's what I was guessing. You know what I mean? With a laser, the only thing I was thinking of is maybe you would have to have, like, for the next shot, that recharge component. You know what I mean? Once you fire off a laser, then it has to, like, charge up, build up energy again, and then shoot another one out. I wonder how long is that process, if any. Maybe you don't. Maybe it could just consistently shoot out a laser, which I would find that would be difficult, extremely difficult to sustain. But how long do you have with the laser before you need to recharge it to shoot another one?
And fuel to run the power generators. Another advantage of Helios is its range. And by that, we don't primarily mean that Helios can lock onto targets over long distances, but that the system can be safely deployed over shorter distances without the risk of damaging your own ship. The bottom line, however, is that it is not even necessary for Helios to destroy a military target. In fact, the high-tech weapon is also capable of blinding the crew of approaching ships with reduced power. The latter would henceforth be forced to turn away without firing a single live shot. But the reverse approach has also been considered in the concepts. In the foreseeable future, Helios power output is to be increased from 60 to 120 kilowatts in order to ward off large targets and destroy smaller ones even faster. Provided the laser weapon proves its worth in future tests, it is also to find its way onto other US Navy ships. The higher goal is to develop a system so powerful that it can even take out anti-ship missiles. If the results of these trials are positive, Lockheed Martin stands to win additional production contracts worth a total of $660 million.
Ooh.
Joint firepower ship. However,
if that's the case, then why we don't have something as far as a laser go that can aid NASA into keeping us protected from asteroids and things like that? Why not? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's a win-win in that type of situation. You protect the planet as well. I don't know. That's just me thinking. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm way too many steps ahead, or I'm just wishful thinking. But that would be good for us if we could design a laser that we could shoot. You know what I mean? We already have some things, I think it's through DART with NASA, but more to be able to aid and assist, that'd be good for us.
US is not the only nation that is currently giving its fleet a major overhaul. In fact, South Korea is also currently pursuing a unique ship concept, the roots of which, however, lie dormant in the US Navy. The so-called Joint Firepower Ship is equipped with countless ballistic missiles. The idea for this floating destruction machine goes back to the Arsenal ship, an American warship loaded with missiles, which was never built. Basically, if you have a northern neighbor that likes to mess around with nuclear weapons and is led by a headstrong dictator, you would be well advised to upgrade your defenses. The South Korean government probably thought so too, which is why they commissioned the shipbuilder DSME to realize the Joint Firepower Ship. 3 models are to be launched by the end of this decade, and the main task of the ships is to reinforce the so-called kill chain. This is the South Korean sea area that is equipped with a network of sensors, spies, special units, and gunners in order to locate North Korean ruler Kim Jong-un if the worst comes to the worst and attack him and his nuclear weapons with all their might. To this end, The Joint Firepower ship carries up to 80 ballistic missiles, each equipped with conventional warheads. The kill chain also includes the Hyunmoo 2A short-range ballistic missile and the Hyunmoo 3 cruise missile. The Swedish-German Taurus cruise missile, launched by the F-15K fighters, is also an integral part of the chain. In this way, the missiles form a military triad of air, land, and sea-based precision weapons. Zumwalt class. Originally, the Zumwalt class was to comprise more than 30 ships and form the new backbone of the U.S. Navy's destroyer fleet. However, with just one unit costing a whopping $4.4 billion, the original target number was continually reduced so that ultimately only 3 Zumwalt-class units were approved. While the last member of the trio is still undergoing trials, and the other 2 are already in service, the unusual design of the Zumwalt ships is no accident. In detail, the designers completely avoided creating surfaces that are at right angles to the water surface. As a result, the radar cross-section is also reduced, which means nothing other than the Zumwalt class embodies stealth ships that are very difficult to locate. If one follows the statements of the U.S. Navy, the Zumwalt appears on the enemy's radar screens to be about the size of an ordinary fishing boat. Equipped with their own landing pad for helicopters and equipped with a hangar, the ships each have 4 gas turbines. In terms of armament, the stealth ships rely on an 80-cell vertical launch system for missiles.
And you know, this is only a portion of what it can do. They ain't gonna give us it all. Imagine what this thing can do. Imagine what all the bells and whistles on there are capable of, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that because it's our military. So they need all our information in their business don't need to get out to the others. I get that part. You know what I mean? But man, if they are telling us this part of it, you know it's more.
The originally planned advanced gun system was canceled for cost reasons. Instead, railguns were fitted to the ships, which have a range up to 350 kilometers. Iron Beam. To conclude today's video, we return from the water to land. To be more precise, we are going to Israel, to the so-called Iron Beam. This energy weapon-based air defense system was first unveiled in February 2014 and put into operation a good 6 years later by the Israeli defense company Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. The Iron Beam's main task is to knock out mortar shells, short-range rockets, combat threats, and artillery, all within a radius of up to 7 kilometers. To ensure that this is achieved, the air defense system uses a fiber laser, in other words, a glass laser that has optical wavelength properties. In this way, Iron Beam is able to take down an enemy target from the sky within 4 to 5 seconds. The corresponding threat is identified by a surveillance system. Just as in the case of the Helios on the USS Preble, Iron Beam is superior to conventional interceptor missiles. First and foremost, there are the operating costs. While a single fired interceptor missile can cost up to $150,000 a shot, with Iron Beam, costs just $2. Or to put it another way, one shot from the most effective energy weapons of our time is cheaper than a kebab. Moreover, since the operation of the Iron Beam requires less manpower, costs can be saved at this point as well. However, it is uncertain how the weapon's performance will turn out in detail.
Now, I know some people are going to say, see, look at that, taking over our people's jobs. And though I can get that point, at the same time, though, man, we want to have these in our possession. We want this type of technology in our possession, bro. This makes us so much stronger. So yeah, it may be cheaper and it may not have to be manned, but I still think it has to be manned just in case a malfunction go down. We send all these spacecrafts into space and we still need to have a team for when it possibly go down. And this is some of our best technology. So I still think it needs to be manned. When they say it's not manned, it just doesn't require man to work. But if something happens, it does need us to work on it and operate on it. So yeah, I think we're good.
In this regard, those responsible stated the laser power to be a few dozen kilowatts. However, an upgrade to several hundred kilowatts is to be realized in the near future. Conceived during a 5-year research and development phase, the Iron Beam consists of an air defense radar, a control and command unit, and 2 high-energy laser systems. In February of last year, Israel announced that the laser weapon system would be operational within 12 months. Subsequently, however, this time frame had to be revised upward somewhat. Currently, it is rather vaguely put at a single-digit number of years.
The sea ice surrounding Antarctica is well below any previous recorded winter level. That's what's shown by satellite data, and it's a worrying new benchmark for a region that once seemed resistant to global warming. Have a look at this map. So this image shows the typical extent of sea ice at this time of year, specifically on the 14th of September. So that's the yellow dotted line. But the actual extent of ice is much less than the median. And as we head into the Antarctic summer, much of the existing ice will continue to melt. Well, let's get more on this.
This is not good. I would imagine this is not good at all. And this could lead into the whole pole shift theory.
And go live now to Mike Childs, who's Head of Policy, Science and Research at Friends of the Earth. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike. So what does that regression of sea ice tell us about global climate shifts?
Well, it tells us that climate change is happening faster than we thought. We're seeing these kind of alarm bells going off around the world. We've got the sea ice, as you say, in Antarctica. We've got Canadian wildfires we've seen all through the summer, extreme rain, perhaps connected to the dreadful situation in Libya. We saw much of Europe under record heat wave this summer. I mean, this is just another wake-up call to governments to say we really need to start taking this issue seriously. We really need to start putting oil on the fire of climate change by giving the go-ahead to new oil and gas licenses or failing to curb emissions. Because, as the sea ice goes and as we see these extremes around the world, we're going to get more and more dangerous weather events around the world, harming more people and harming our economies and food production.
And why is climate change happening faster than we thought?
Climate change modelling is incredibly complex. You can imagine how complex the weather system is around the world and inherently conservative. So when scientists have been saying over the last decades that climate change is happening, we're moving into dangerous territory, we need to take action, they've been erring on the conservative side of what might happen. And in reality, things are happening faster on the ground. What that means, of course, is politicians need to take action a lot faster than they are. But here in the UK, we're not. The government's giving the go-ahead to more oil and gas licenses. We're not insulating our homes, which means that we're pouring out excess pollution, as well as people freezing in their homes during this energy crisis. There's so much more we could be doing to reduce carbon emissions, making quality of life better, and trying to stop this climate change getting worse and worse and worse.
And if we go back to the shrinking of the sea ice, people watching at home will have seen the image that we showed of a map indicating what the median level should be. You can see it again now if you're watching at home. What does that mean for the wider ecosystem and for native species there?
Well, the polar regions, both in the South Antarctica and Arctic and North, are giant refrigerators for the planet. So they help keep the planet cooler than it would otherwise be. So those shrinking levels of ice help warm up the planet. But of course, as you say, Lexima, there's lots of species that also depend on that sea ice and a stable environment. So certainly for some of the penguins we see in Antarctica, that's going to be more and more worrying. We're going to see much more challenging environment for them to thrive, and we could lose some species of those. And then in the north and in the Arctic, we can see the challenges faced the wildlife there. So wildlife.
See, the scary part is, man, we've talked about, the reset. I think some people dub it as the reset. We could be headed towards that. Hope it doesn't happen during this lifetime, but you know what I'm saying? We could be headed towards that. The scary part about this climate change, bro, and the poles shifting, it could get real bad for us. I did a whole video on that, man, diving into the information on that. Bro, that could be would be bad for us. So I agree with them when they say we need to do something now instead of trying to be reactionary later on. We need to be proactive, fam. Start trying to do certain things to slow down this climate change.
will be suffering because of this climate change, both in those locations, but around the world, because this extreme weather that's battering the planet is not only harming humans and harming our economies and harming our food production, of course, it's having a devastating impact on wildlife as well. And we really need to see politicians around the world, including here in the UK, taking this much more seriously. There are really important international climate talks coming up later this year. The UK government is way off track of meeting its promise that it's made internationally. It's got to step up and deliver, and so do other countries.
And Mike, that's what I want to come on to now, actually, because it all sounds very bleak and it might make people think, well, it's just too late. But what can be done to reverse this trend? You touched on some of it there.
Well, it's not too late. Every degree of warming, every fraction of a degree of warming that we prevent, then we're going to prevent significant harm. So we have to do our best.
And we can slow it down. That's one thing we can do. Man does so much destruction on our own. If we cut back on the things that we're doing to assist it, it'll slow down some.
Very best. We can't go backwards. We've already warmed the planet more than we should have done.
Right.
But what we can do is stop making it worse. And that does mean investing in, as I said, home insulation. That's good for people's health. It will keep down energy bills, but also stop carbon pollution from burning gas in our homes. We can make sure we're investing much faster in renewables. And again, here in the UK, we saw an unsuccessful round of auction for offshore wind because the government didn't put enough money on the table. And we can see more action to help people drive either electric cars or get out of their car altogether and go and bike.
Oh, he mentioned the E word, electric cars, bro. That's going to be a whole debate within itself, man. You should have left that one out.
Cycling, all these things can make our quality of life better, actually. But the government's not giving it the priority it needs.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's always good to end on a positive with something that we can do. That's Mike Childs from Friends of the Earth.
Now, I know the people's pushback. They're going to be like, okay, if you want us to drive these electric vehicles, then why y'all don't cut back on the cost? Some of these electric vehicles the price tag on them is beyond me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to name no names, but you know some of the ones that are leading the charge with the price tags. But, I get it, man. We're going to have to start becoming comfortable and okay with the thought and idea of these electric vehicles. I know a lot of people have bought in, but there's still some people that have not bought into that yet. We got to continue to discuss this, man. This affects us. It ain't like we could just sit back and just watch it. No, this affects us. So, y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought of these videos. And stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.